Welcome to the Smarter Sales Show. Okay, you're a sales pro or you're a sales leader, and maybe you own a business or you're just one of those people who would never call themselves a salesperson, but you still have to sell a solution or your expertise in order to build your business. If that is you, welcome. You have come home, my friend. This is your weekly tech tips and technique tune-up with a special focus on virtual selling. Whether you are watching the show on the Sales Experts channel or on YouTube or even LinkedIn, or maybe you're just listening to the podcast version of this on your favorite podcast platform during your long Zoom commutes, we're glad you're tuned in. Every show features me. Hi, I'm Julie. And my job is to blow your mind with some cool technology every single week, and that you will need in order to crush your sales goals. Joining me every week is my co-host, of course, Merritt Khan. Merritt will be talking to you about sales technique and the emotional intelligence competencies that will help you stand out in a sea of sameness. We stick to a theme for every show, and we do them in 4-packs. And right now we are in the middle of our 4-pack on differentiation, because you have to stand out to sell out. We don't want you to sell out. We just want you to sell more. You have to stand out to sell more. And as always, all the resources that we talk about during each one of our 4-packs is available to you. You'll get links to those in the description and in the show notes, depending on where you are. But basically, just look around. You're going to find the links. And we put tons of stuff in there for you. So if you are ready, are you ready? Say, I'm ready. You don't really have to say,
ready.
I'm ready. Let's get smarter in sales. Tell them, Merritt.
Well, let's definitely do that. We've covered a lot of ground on the topic of differentiation. We talked about, I learned so much from your episode. If you haven't listened to that episode on where Julie talked all about the cool technology that you can use to differentiate, there is so much information packed in that episode. We also did a great interview with Lee Sauls on the topic of sales differentiation. He literally wrote the book, Sales Differentiation. So that was a really good episode as well. And today I really want to take it to the next level. That doesn't sound very different, does it? But I really want to give you some advanced strategies about what to say and how to think and what to do differently. So you really are different out there.
So what do you think it is, Merritt, that is like the number one challenge for people when it comes to differentiation? What's like the biggie?
You know, the biggie that people are always asking me for is, what do I say that's different? So there's definitely, in terms of the mechanics of selling, like the what to say, the nuts and bolts of things, there's definitely things that you can say to be different. And I will definitely give you tips on that. But I also think that, you know, there's so much around us that is different now, that one of the most important things we can do is focus on how our mindset is different now, how in this virtual selling world, and what do we want to be deliberate about so that we are acknowledging that the world is different, but also we're different in the ways that we work within. So I'll say more about that, but I think there's a mindset component of differentiation. And then the third piece of the puzzle is about how you are in motion with your sales, right? So I'm always talking about mindset, mechanics, motion. Pretty much you can count on me going back and giving tips and techniques on all three of those. And I think those are important things to consider. It's how are we occurring? What are we doing differently to be effective in a virtual selling world? So I want to touch on all three of those today.
Oh my gosh, it's a triple header. Is that a thing? It's a triple play. It's a
hat trick.
Yeah, it's a hat trick. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a hat trick for our soccer fans, football fans, if you're in the UK like me. Okay, so right. All right, let's start with mindset then. So what is the big thing when it comes to mindset?
When it comes to mindset right now, I think what we want to be able to do is to, first of all, think from the perspective of our prospects, right? It's obvious, and we're salespeople, so we're hardwired to, it's about us, right? It's about our commission check and our bonus check and our client list and our goals and our sales objectives and all of that. But we have to put that aside and really flip it and remember that we are only as good as we are for our prospects and clients. So the first thing, I think it still is different out there to say that our focus is on what matters to my prospects and my clients. That's a different way of starting a whole sales interaction, because most of us are just in it for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
The what's in it for me approach. And I've been thinking a lot about this. First of all, it's kind of hard to have a conversation about what's different in sales and what you can and should do differently, because pretty much someone out there has heard it before, right? Like, don't you think, especially our audience, like this is an audience of savvy sales professionals, right? They're already out there seeking information from all these different sources. So to come up with like, what can I tell you that would really make you different in sales? Somebody has heard it before. So a lot of pressure on this episode. But you know, I think that's why we need to just be intensely curious about what our prospects and clients need and what will have them be different.
Yeah.
And our role in helping them achieve that.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got to be thinking about our clients first, which I think, you know, we kind of all know, right? That there's this whole thing about putting our clients first, but, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, let's be honest. I mean, if we look at what's happening around us right now, a lot of salespeople are extra stressed, right? They are, you know, we've seen, you know, I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic still. Right. So, you know, we hate to date the episode, but listen, we're in the middle of a pandemic. But that's got to mean that if, you know, I mean, I've experienced it. I know you've experienced merit, and I have no doubt that almost everyone that's listening right now has experienced it. And that is this whole like, I don't know what's going to happen next week, next month, next year. I don't know if my job's still going to be there. I don't know if people still need my product. I don't know. So much change, so much anxiety, so much stress that I think that we are naturally very very internal right now, right? That we're all a little bit worried about our own safety and security. And so I think that that's a great reminder that we have to step away from that. We have to distance ourselves from our own knee-jerk emotional reaction of, I've got to get a sale, I've got to get a sale, I've got to get a sale. And we have to trust the process.
That is so true. And I think, you know, we've had to learn a lot of different things to be effective in a virtual selling world. And we have to, you know, be managing our own emotions and all of that, as well as our prospects. And one of the things that may be different for a lot of people in terms of a mindset and being able to effectively execute a sales process on top of a foundation that's so uncertain still. And maybe, you know, that brings up a good point, is instead of focusing so much right now on what am I saying to be different and what am I doing to be different, it's how am I being? How am I taking care of myself? How am I managing my own emotions so that I can be present for my clients and prospects in a different way than they might be experiencing from other salespeople that aren't as good at really managing their own emotions. So if I'm in sales and I'm hysterical and I'm calling on, you know, prospects, I'm just transferring that hysterical energy. I don't mean hysterical like flying off the handle, but
chaotic, that nervous or that anxiousness.
Anxious. Yeah. So it is different, you know, to be able to just, you know, whether it's meditation or really studying your own emotional intelligence levels and really understanding where your levels of empathy are right now, and assertiveness as an example, and optimism, that's a big one right now. Like, how optimistic are you? And how do you allow that to color the world the way that you see things? And can you bring that perspective? Would that be a different perspective that you can share with prospects and clients that's refreshing for them and helps them step into something that might be more helpful for them as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, if you imagine that the anxiety that we feel, our clients are feeling it too. So you know, we've got to come down off of, you know, that nervous energy. You know, we have a joke in my family, which is, you know, we're on the bus to panic. And like, are you
I've
like,
been on that
are you
bus
on the
ride.
express bus? Like, who's on the bus to panic today? Like, we need to get off at the next stop. So, get off the bus to panic, and, let's rein it in. Okay. So mindset's a good start, but you said you've got some others as well. And mechanics is one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite areas that you talk about. So talk to me about the mechanics, and what can we do that helps to differentiate?
Yeah. So like the mechanics of selling, you want to think about like, what are different words that I can say that will give us a launch point to a more effective sales conversation. And if you think about, I study stand-up comedy. I've performed stand-up comedy. It's one of my favorite things to do. I have been paid, so technically I am a professional. Though I won't be quitting my day job anytime soon. But what makes a great joke is the twist at the end. So if you think about one of my favorite jokes of all time, a classic from Henny Youngman from the 1960s, but this joke has stood the test of time. I'm sure you've heard it, but it's very simple. And it's this: take my wife, please. Right?
Yeah.
So it's that surprise twist ending. So when you think about the mechanics of selling, you want to really approach it like a comedian would pick that twist ending that's going to have that punchline. So for example, right? So when somebody says, well, what makes you different? The moment I say, well, let me tell you all the reasons why I'm different, blah, 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 our pricing structure, our features, benefits, and plus you get me. None of that is any different than any of my competitors would be saying. So that's the trap. And we talked about that in our first episode on this series. Was that number 15, 16? And so what you want to say is, if somebody says, well, why are you different? You might say, well, I don't know that I am. Maybe I'm not different, right? But see, that's the reaction. And as soon as they go, that's a new one. So you don't think you're different? Well, I didn't say that, but let me ask you a question. So now I'm turning it, right? Okay. Because if I say all the reasons I think I'm different, I'm trying to convince you of what should be important to you. But if I say, I don't know if I'm any different, I don't know who you've talked to, I don't know what conversations, I don't know what matters to you. Can I ask you a question? What have you experienced so far that feels a little different in your interaction with me or my company?
Okay.
Well, now I'm putting it on them. And whatever they say feels different to them, what that's telling me is what is resonating with them. It's giving me clues about what's important to them. Well, you've asked a lot of questions. Great. And how does that feel for you? Well, that's a good thing. Or, you brought me some creative ideas. You did this other thing. Great. Whatever it is, it's a trigger. It's giving me information about what's important to them, that way I can get into a real conversation. We can get to the deeper issues without me trying to convince them my reasons why I think I'm different or better.
Okay. I'm going to have to interrupt you for a second, Mary, because I just realized that that's what you did on one of our sales calls.
What?
Oh my gosh. Wait a minute. This is crazy. Like, I never put the two and two together. So, for those of you that, if you listen to the end of our podcast, you'll know we, in addition to having this amazing podcast that we love and adore, we also have other things that we do. And as the Smarter Sales Pros, we have the Smarter Sales Show live, which we provide to organizations. And we were working with a sales team for their sales kickoff event. And during the sales process where they were interviewing us, you had asked this question. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting was they said, well, you gave us some ideas and we've actually implemented one of them already and had results.
And yes, I remember that moment.
You're implementing stuff that we're telling you we haven't even started working together. We gave you a couple of ideas, but you're absolutely right. They actually told us why they needed to work with us.
Yeah, that was a great moment. And it shifted things, right? So it became like all of a sudden, and that's a great strategy, right? To give some value first. especially in that case, they were able to implement that value right away. And then when we asked that question, well, what have you found different? Then it was like they were convincing us why we needed to work together. And it takes a lot of the pressure off, right? It's
so good. Oh, you're so sneaky. And I mean that like in the best possible way. That's really good.
Thank you.
And I think, what's cool is definitely, this is maybe what I would suggest to everybody as you're listening. When you hear Merit share these strategies, of course, they're awesome and genius, but really try to think about where you've seen them. Like, I get a front row seat, to be fair, but I think, like when you're watching a sales process happen around you, or when you're, reading a sales guide, or when you're talking to your colleagues, like, are you listening for these, little pearls of wisdom that you can implement? It's so smart when you can see things in action. Okay. All right. I totally digressed, but you blew my mind. I had no idea. Like, you're totally like actually doing what you say, which is weird.
Crazy, right?
It's nuts. Okay. So what about motion?
So motion is about, using different types of actions. And we've talked about this a lot. I think the episodes that you do that really focus on technology give us so many different ways that we can actually implement different ways of being in motion throughout the sales process. Yeah. And, when you think about it, you want to be where you want to be at the right place at the right time, right? We've all heard that. So to do that means you have to be everywhere all the time. That's expensive and difficult and annoying for people if you're constantly popping up everywhere. But it's also not realistic, right? We've got a lot of other things on our plates. We can't be everywhere in terms of our marketing. Yeah. So what we really want is to be memorable. We want to be memorable. So being different is a strategy toward that goal of being remembered when they need you. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, you could be the best real estate listing agent on the planet. But if I'm not selling my house, I don't need to know. It doesn't matter why you're different.
Yeah.
If you've done something different that makes me remember you, and then I decide I'm going to move across the country, now I'm thinking I got to list my house. Who was that real estate agent? Oh yeah. I remember they're the ones that hosted the neighborhood garage sale, right? It was something memorable. So that could be a lot of different things. Like, I have an advantage because my name is unique, right? It's not likely, very many Merits. And I get a lot of play on that. Every time I introduce myself to somebody, I will say, I'm Merit, like a certificate of. So I'm kind of connecting for them the certificate, or like a Merit badge or whatever, right? So I want them to, I want to be a little bit sticky. Then I might follow up with them. I might send them a certificate of Merit, for something, right? Or I might send them a coffee coupon, but it would be in the form of a certificate of Merit. So it's just a little play to help them remember my name or something. Now, if your name is Julie, you don't have that.
No, but I could do Julie Holmes, not related to Sherlock.
Oh, see, that's genius. Sherlock, no relation. I love that. And I'm just, we're joking about it, but also think about all of the ways that people are trying to sell to you. So all of those messages you're getting on LinkedIn that sound the same, and all the emails that look the same, you want to look at that and just take a step back. And that's where, to your point of think about how can you implement all these things that we share in every single episode. It's overwhelming, almost all the ideas and tips and tricks for tech and technique. But that one little thing that you shared a long time ago in several episodes was just video email. Yeah. I know that that's still different because I'm not inundated with video emails.
Great point.
Right? I know that if I leave a LinkedIn message that's a voice message, I know people aren't inundated with those yet. That's still different. And it's just cool enough, like your QR code business card tech that you shared, it's just cool enough to start a conversation about it. So look for those places in your sales process where you can be different and memorable, either because of technology or because of wordplay or because of how you're following up. Like old-fashioned mail is different because we're not doing that anymore. That used to be same, then it became different. Now it's different again. Right?
Yeah. Although wait till everybody goes back in the office, I think, before you start asking for, home addresses.
Fair enough. Good point. That's a good point.
You could, you just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of different ways, but I want to also mention something that I think is important on this topic, because I have seen people go a little bit overboard trying to be different, either so that they're memorable or just different for the sake of being different. And that will work against you, because if it's not authentic to you, they're going to smell that a mile away. And I think that's going to be a different problem that you'll have to overcome later. So if you remember anything from this episode, I really want you to take away that first and foremost, in any of the tips and tricks I've talked about to be different, really make sure that's aligned and it's authentic with you.
I think that's a great point. We see a lot of that right now, people doing, the Google searches, right? Coolest business cards. It's kind of right up there, what are the most unique business cards or your coolest client gifts? And you'll go out there and you'll see some brilliant ideas, but it'd be like you using a QR code and not knowing how to explain the QR code to somebody.
Right.
Like you have to, even if it's a bit of a stretch for you, you have to own it. If you're going to use it to stand out, like you're making a decision you're hanging your hat on something. So it better be something you're happy to hang your hat on and not just some random thing you picked off of Etsy.
Great point. I think sometimes people have asked me, well, I'm not a creative person, so I'm not really, I don't think about different ways to be different. I don't have these creative ideas. And one of the things that I like to do is to feed my mind with different types of information. So you can get different ideas. Sometimes you need to take a break from sales books and, professional development stuff and read a fiction novel for a moment, because sometimes it's having an idea from a totally, different perspective gives you insight into something that might be very creative for your world. I used to do this, or I've done this activity with clients over the years where I've said, okay, well, go to a magazine rack and close your eyes and just pick a magazine off the rack and stand in front of a section that isn't the magazine you would buy, and whatever it is, buy it, assuming it's one of the ones that's not in the paper thing. That's not the
Got it. Yeah. So don't point at the top of the rack.
Right.
Not that I know where anything like that would be housed. I'm just saying.
Right. Exactly. Make it a clean magazine. So, but I did that one time and I ended up with Fly Fishing Magazine or some ridiculous thing that I was completely uninterested in. And I forced myself, the assignment is you have to force yourself to read 3 different articles and you just randomly pick them, right? And I read this article about something about how it was about the kit and getting your kit together, your fly fishing kit or whatever. And as I'm reading, I'm asking myself the question, what can I get from this that's like how a salesperson would prepare their toolkit to go in for a prospect? And so I'm kind of looking for analogies and stories. And it made for a great example. Little did I know at the time that I would be doing a speaking engagement for an outdoors, company. And I'm like, I was reading in Fly Fishing Magazine. Or like,
there you go.
What?
You are very well read.
So, but it was funny because you just don't know when something like that is going to come up. But if you're out there and you're getting input from different sources than you might normally seek, that's a good way of expanding your ideas and expanding what, how the stories you use and the examples you give and the ways that you might approach people. So that's one other tip. And the other thing I would say is collaboration, because, you and I talk about ideas, and I get so many more ideas from just the conversations because we think very differently. And I think that's one of the reasons why people have given us great reviews on our show, because I kind of come from this people perspective and you kind of come from this technology perspective, and together we meet in the middle, like, oh my gosh, there are all these great ideas. But I'm not as process oriented in my thoughts as you are. And so I've learned a lot through your eyes. I see things differently. You and I solve problems in unique ways from our own perspective. So I think that's the other thing I would share with our audience is you don't have to have all this figured out. If you're wondering, like, why am I different? How am I different? What's a different mindset? What are some different things I can say? And what are different things I can do? Talk to people, talk to your friends. They don't even have to be business colleagues. Talk to your friends and find out, how do you guys differentiate in your world?
Yeah, right? That's really good. Yeah, I think that's, of all the things that you said, and you've said some absolute gems on the show, the one that I think is probably the one that I'm not most likely to do. I kind of do this now, but it's a good reminder for me to keep doing this. And that is to look outside of my own industry and to look outside of my own desk, right? If we just say, look beyond my own desk to find new ideas. And then to try to see how other industries, other people, other companies are solving challenges, and then try to intimate that into my desk. Like, how could that work for me? Or what would that look like for me? And it's great because it's a common innovation strategy. And it's one of the ways that I come up with product ideas and things like that, right? Is like, oh, how has somebody else solved this problem?
Yeah.
How do you solve a problem like Maria? Is really what I would say.
Sing really well.
That's my big takeaway from this episode. And I love the idea. I think that we should steal your challenge as the one that you just said. And I think that the challenge for everybody should be go grab a magazine, get a magazine, go to the grocery store, point your finger randomly with your eyes closed at the rack, not at random people, point it at the rack, pick a magazine that you've never heard of or that you've never read, and then just try it out. Like, find something new and unusual to expand your horizons. What an inspirational activity to go and do. Yay. Very nice.
You never know. You might enjoy fly fishing, right? I mean, who knows?
So the next thing that you could do is you could tune in for the next 4-pack of episodes that we are about to kick off. Absolutely. Next week starts our next 4-pack of episodes. And this next 4-pack is all about prospecting. And let's face it, like, once you figured out how you're different, now you got to go tell somebody how different you are. Like, you've got to take this to the next level. We've got to start getting out there in front of people. And we're going to do that with prospecting in the next 4-pack of episodes. And like all of our 4-packs, there'll be an episode where we introduce the topic and share our top tips. Then we're going to do a special tech episode, followed by a special technique episode. And then finally, I'm super excited that in this 4-pack, we're bringing in a buddy of mine, Sam Richter, as a guest expert. And Sam has not only, speaks all the time and teaches people about sales prospecting, but he's actually created technology to help you do it. So you want to make sure that you check that out, because he's also going to give away some free cool stuff. So, make sure you tune in for that.
Absolutely. And since we're going to save you time and prospecting, and we've helped you hone in on different ways that you can be different without talking too much and taking all kinds of time, we would like to ask for just a teeny little bit of that time back. And it's sales, right? So if you don't ask, you don't get. So here's our ask. go out there, take 60 seconds, subscribe to the Sales Experts channel, subscribe to the Smarter Sales Show, go on iTunes or Spotify and check out our LinkedIn clips and YouTube channel. That way you'll never miss any of these amazing tips and tricks that we're teaching on tech and technique. But give us that 5-star review. Better yet, type in a few words, actual words, to let us know what's really resonating with you, what you appreciate about what you've learned here, so that we can just keep giving you more good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we may not be different, but we would love to hear from you what you've experienced so far that is different.
I love you. That's awesome. Perfect.
Crack me up. All right. Listen, if your company or industry association is planning a sales meeting, virtual or live, and you'd like to know more about how Merritt and I can come out and deliver your very own Smarter Sales Show, customized event, or maybe you just want to focus on tech or technique, we love to work with members of our audience to create programs that are unique, valuable, memorable, and frankly, just smart. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can always find out more on thesmartersalesshow.com, or you can contact us by email at hello@thesmartersalesshow.com. Don't forget to check the descriptions or the links section or the show notes, wherever you're at. Just check wherever the text is associated with it, because we put a link to all of the resources, the tools, the strategies, quick educational videos, all kinds of stuff is out there free for you to help yourself. So I hope that you have found this episode to be as fun as we have had having this conversation. And we can't wait to see you on our next episode. I'm Julie Holmes.
And I'm Merritt Khan.
Thanks for getting smarter with us. Take care.